Hello, and welcome to the New Year's first episode of County Perspective, the show that focuses on Frederick County government, local programs and events, and the community that you live in. I'm your host, Brandon Rosa, and thank you for joining us. This show hasn't aired since early March of 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and now we're more than happy to be back. I've missed you all. Now, the past few weeks have been busy here in Frederick County, so let's find out what our county government has been up to with some recent news. County Executive Jan Gardner has been holding weekly public information briefings on the COVID-19 outbreak. On January 21st, she said that more people have been in the hospital in recent weeks than at any other time during the pandemic. Although the numbers can be frightening, there is a glimmer of hope. Vaccines are slowly starting to become available. The Frederick County Health Department has vaccinated people in Group 1A. That includes our healthcare workers and emergency responders, as well as people in the age group of 75 and over. Frederick County has approximately 14,000 residents in this age range, so with the limited amount of vaccines arriving each week, it could take time to schedule everyone. It is important to know that the COVID vaccine is not like getting a flu shot. Everyone must make an appointment. There are no walk-in vaccine clinics. Also, note that the two types of vaccine currently available both require getting a second dose. After your first appointment, you can register for your follow-up vaccine. If you would like to track the percentage of Frederick County's population who have been vaccinated or see updated coronavirus statistics, visit frederickcountymd.gov/COVID-stats. Frederick County restaurants and food service businesses received a second round of grants to help them during the pandemic. County Executive Jan Gardner announced that an additional $1.3 million were distributed in January. The second grant will automatically be sent to food service businesses that received funding in the first round. Grants will be awarded in two categories. The first category includes commercially located bakeries and caterers, carry-out restaurants that have no seating, and food trucks. 55 businesses in this category receive grants for $1,250 each. The second category includes restaurants without drive-thrus and wineries, breweries, and distilleries. There were 191 businesses in this group that received grants. This grant amount in this category was more than $6,100 each. To be eligible, businesses had to be located in Frederick County, be in good standing with the county and the state of Maryland, and possess a current food license from the Frederick County Health Department, or in the case of the craft beverage manufacturers, possesses a liquor license from the Frederick County Liquor Board. Grant funds can be used to pay for working capital, such as rent, payroll, and job training, purchase of equipment and services to expand outdoor dining, such as tents, heaters, warmers, and carts, infrastructure improvement, such as HVAC system upgrades, technology to support carry-out and delivery, purchase of personal protective equipment, and disposable food containers and utensils, and sanitization services. In her commitment to advancing equity throughout Frederick County, County Executive Jan Gardner created the new position of Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer. After a long search, Michael Hughes was hired. Some of the duties for this new role will be to assist division directors and other leaders within the county to make effective data-driven decisions. The Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer will assist human resources with the implementation of training and competency, building strategies for our leadership team and workforce within Frederick County government, as well as support internal efforts to improve the diversity of our workforce. Executive Gardner's goal in creating this position is for Frederick County government to model equity and having a welcoming and inclusive culture that addresses institutional systemic racism. She believes that Hughes' extensive background and training in the field of racial equity make him the perfect candidate for this position. Executive Gardner has set up an equity and inclusion leadership team consisting of community members with different backgrounds. The team's goal was to bring priorities and issues to the county executive's attention. The Equity and Inclusion Leadership Team's first meeting took place on December 21st. They plan on meeting several times this year and hope that the public can express their thoughts as well. If you would like to follow the conversation, please visit frederickcountymd.gov/equity. Domestic violence is something no one ever wants to experience. It is traumatic, and most people are confused and scared about where to go and who to talk to for help. People around the nation and right here in Frederick County are experiencing domestic violence, and that is why community members and Frederick County government officials are putting together a Domestic Violence Coordinating Council to help individuals who are suffering from domestic violence. Here is a short video to explain what the Domestic Violence Coordinating Council will do. Take a look. Frederick County sees hundreds of cases of domestic violence a year. The need for a Domestic Violence Coordinating Council has been something Frederick County has been looking to establish for quite some time.
The state's attorney's office here in Frederick County, we prosecute hundreds of domestic violence cases every year, from misdemeanor to felony level violence. We see charged cases of about 600, I would say, a year, perhaps more. And we know statistically that domestic violence is one of the least reported crimes, so it's very underreported.
Frederick County had a Domestic Violence Coordinating Council many, many years ago, but it was never a formal act of the county, a formal board or commission. It was actually developed through the court. In around 2008, it kind of fizzled out.
Prosecutor Brett Engler with the Frederick County State's Attorney's Office saw the need for a Domestic Violence Coordinating Council and was inspired to get the council moving forward.
Council member Fitzwater and I met 2 summers ago, and I explained to her my role and that I focused most of my prosecution efforts during the 8 years that I've been with the State's Attorney's Office on domestic violence intervention and prosecution. I keep on top of national issues related to domestic violence and best practices as it relates to domestic violence. What I was seeing is that other counties and locations are starting or have had domestic violence coordinating councils for some time.
County Council member Jessica Fitzwater created a bill that would officially amend the DVCC into Frederick County government, and the game plan for the DVCC was on its way.
I believe there's about 7 other counties in Maryland that have a Domestic Violence Coordinating Council. So we took a look at what some of those other counties were doing, what sorts of groups they were bringing to the table, and what their goals were, and tried to we wrote a bill that would sort of take those best practices and make them fit in with Frederick County, what the needs were here, what different agencies and organizations we have that are working on preventing domestic violence and educating the community about domestic violence. The DVCC, based on the bill that the County Council passed this past summer, has to meet at least 4 times annually or as often as they see fit. The Domestic Violence Coordinating Council has sort of 2 categories of membership. We have some folks that will be there based on the agency or organization that they're representing. We're including agencies like the District Court, the State's Attorney's Office, law enforcement, the Forensic Nursing Program at Frederick Health Hospital, the Hartley House, and then we're also looking for members from the communities. For our community members, the way that it works is the folks in the community can simply send a letter of interest and a resume, and then the county executive will appoint members and the county council confirms the members. So once we've gone through that process, then the DVCC can officially start its work.
The DVCC will be comprised of members from the community that can provide resources, solutions on how to prevent domestic abuse, and expertise on how to help victims of domestic violence.
There are going to be 17 members of the council, so it's a big group. The council will be tasked with looking at advocacy and legislation, reviewing data and the programming. They'll be looking at what Hartley House might need in order to provide better services, but they will really be looking at how domestic violence services and law enforcement and the courts, how they're all working together for the benefit of victims.
For us specifically at the hospital and forensic services, it was important for us to be there because domestic violence is a healthcare issue. Our role will help to address the initial healthcare issues resulting from that violence, but also the long-term health consequences that we know exist and that we're seeing every single day.
Members hope that the new Domestic Violence Coordinating Council will have concrete longevity in Frederick County government, and that the Domestic Violence Coordinating Council will continuously bring awareness of domestic violence in the community.
One of the main goals is going to be to have a more coordinated effort on educating the community. So the more that people know, and the more that people know what resources are available or what to do if they need help, hopefully that we can decrease the incidence of domestic violence.
Be sure to stick around. We have plenty more coming up on County Perspective. Welcome back to County Perspective. I'm your host, Brandon Rosa. In a bit, we'll take a look at one of FCG-TV's COVID stories of a Frederick County resident who survived COVID-19. But before we do that, let's find out who this episode's featured pet is.
Nasal congestion has never been so cute. Dottie may be a little snotty due to chronic sinusitis, but she is perfect in every other way. This 1-year-old is happy to be held, loves to snuggle up on laps, and enjoys playing with any toy she can find. Occasionally silly and always affectionate, this little girl with a big personality would be a great fit for any family. She does well with other cats. However, due to her condition, she should live with cats with similar conditions or as an only cat. To learn more about Dottie and our virtual adoption process, call Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center at 301-600-1546.
COVID-19 is happening around our nation, and right here in Frederick County. Unfortunately, more than 200 people in our community have passed away from the virus. Fortunately, most people, myself included, survived their encounters with COVID-19. Let's watch FCG-TV's COVID Stories, where this episode focuses on Middletown resident Elizabeth Bauer's story and how she survived COVID-19, even with a pre-existing health condition of asthma.
When COVID first became part of the news, I was extremely concerned about it because I have asthma and I have an autoimmune disease. So I started taking precautions, wearing a mask and gloves prior to the government and the scientists telling us to do so. Around March 21st, I started having some gastrointestinal problems, which cleared up rather quickly, but then within a couple of days, I started having breathing problems and coughing. I ignored it for a couple of days. Then by March 26th, I started with a horrible, horrible pain in my chest, feeling like I'd been hit with a brick. And the coughing began again. Now this was a really, really deep bronchial cough, and I was exhausted. I had no energy to do anything. On April 1st, I got the phone call that, guess what, you're positive. Most of my trouble has been the lungs, the breathing problems. I had to become my own doctor, which is what a lot of us have to do. Early on, you were told, don't go to the hospital, because they were afraid of overwhelming the hospital system. So the first week or so, I was very, very tired. I slept most of the time, coughed like crazy. They put me on doxycycline and the albuterol inhalers to start with. And then I started to feel a little bit better. And I thought, okay, this isn't so bad. I can handle a week or so of this. And I knew I was still, sort of in that danger zone of being contagious, so I didn't go anyplace. But around April 15th, I took a nosedive. Complete exhaustion. I lay in bed and I would sleep and sleep and sleep and think to myself when I would get some consciousness back and think, wonder if I go back to sleep if I'll ever wake up again. I did the up and down until about the beginning of May, and then, with headaches that were horrible in the back of my head and in my eye sockets. I had blurry eyes, painful eyes, my chest hurting like crazy, the coughing. Sometimes it was a dry cough, sometimes it was a deep bronchial cough. But then early one morning in May, I got up and I said, I can't take this anymore. I've got to go to the hospital. By June, I was actually doing better. And I thought, okay, I'm on the road to recovery. So June, July were fairly decent. August, all hell broke loose again. And I was sick as a dog, and I was ready to give up. I was feeling so sick. And again, it's the breathing problems for me that were causing me so much concern. The fact that I had to struggle so much. The heat and the humidity made me feel like I was suffocating when I would breathe. My oldest son, who lives in Scotland, said to me, I think we need to have a conversation about what your plans are for when you die. So at that point, I sort of pulled myself up by my bootstraps and thought, I've got to fight this. So I turned the corner. I got better. Not perfect, but I got better. Then in early October, same thing. Not as bad as the relapse in August, but I relapsed again. And it just comes and it goes. It does what it wants to do. As a long hauler, which is what I am now, I'm at 8.5 months since I got sick. I'm not COVID positive. I don't have the antibodies. But for now, what I try to do, the thing that's most important for me, is sharing my story and educating people about how serious this is. So it's real. This isn't a joke. This is not something you want to catch. You may be lucky, you may be asymptomatic, you may get it, get over it quickly, and I hope that happens if that's going to happen to you. But the reality is, you could end up in the hospital on a ventilator. You could lose your life. You could have long-haul symptoms that are going to affect other parts of your body, and you don't know whether or not those will ever get better. It's been a long road, but I keep a good attitude about it. I can't feel sorry for myself. I cannot go down that path. I just have to remain hopeful that they're going to figure something out and they're going to be able to help us. I just hope there isn't anything permanent.
Looking for something to do in the next few weeks? Well, Frederick County has your back. Check out some of the great programs and events that some of the county departments are offering. To find more events and programs, or for more information, log on to the county's webpage, frederickcountymd.gov. Now at the end of our show, we like to mention a few recent events, along with things our viewers should keep an eye out for in the upcoming weeks. Frederick County has more than 80 food distribution locations for residents who need some help getting meals for themselves, their family, their friends, and or their loved ones. Times have been tough with COVID-19 in our area, and that is why Frederick County Geographic Information Systems and Frederick County Emergency Management teamed up with local nonprofit community members to make a new food distribution map app that Frederick County residents can access on their computer, tablet, or smartphone device. This new app gives users directions on where to find the food distribution locations, hours of operation, and more. To access the map, go to frederickcountymd.gov/food resource map.
This map is really important for our community because it provides one central place where all the food distribution sites can implement their data. And that is when they're going to be open, what hours they have, how you actually get there, where you can donate. This map will also provide us the opportunity as a county to look holistically at the data and where our sites are going and where we need to move them and where we are covered or where we need additional food.
If any of you are interested in providing your own food drop-off location, contact the Frederick Rescue Mission's food coordinator, Valerie Moore, at 301-695-6633 or via email at vmoore@therescuemission.org. Are you looking for a new book to read, a video game to play, or a movie to watch? Well, Frederick County Public Libraries are offering contactless curbside pickup. All you have to do is place a hold on your items you want to check out, follow the instructions on a notification sent out to you as to where to pick up the items, date and time, and then drive over to the pickup location. When you arrive, call the number outside on the signs to notify staff that you're ready for pickup. If you're interested in FCPL curbside pickup, just visit fcpl.org. That's it for this episode of County Perspective. But don't forget to follow Frederick County social media in order to keep up to date on important news and events. We'll see you next time for a fresh look from a county perspective.